You're listening to The Real Short Box, a comic book podcast made for geeks by geeks.
Hello out there in podcast land. Welcome to the most righteous, the most wonderful, the most famous, the most podcast with the greatest potential.
See, you couldn't even get through that without most famous my ass.
And what is podcast land?
I picture like the amusement rides kind of being awful, to be honest.
There's no such thing as podcast
They're
land.
all sound related, you know?
Yeah. So anyway, I'm Darren.
My name is Supreme Chancellor Kevin.
I'm Captain Don.
Captain Don?
I don't know.
That doesn't sound
Captain Ron had a jingle to it, and I was thinking about that movie lately, so I thought I would just go with Captain Don.
You know, the son in Captain Ron is played by Benjamin Salisbury. Do you know?
Salisbury steak.
Do you know where Benjamin Salisbury is working as we speak?
Where?
No.
He is a
Porn.
manager at Universal Studios Hollywood
You don't say.
for the upper lot.
You don't say.
He's a very nice man, actually.
Oh, interesting.
You don't say.
But he was also, as you remember, Brighton on the Nanny, one of Kevin Green's favorite shows.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, what's really kind of humorous is I was working on a show last week with Jay Leno, and I had mentioned to Jay that as I was, heading to bed, my lovely lady and I were watching a rerun of The Nanny, and I was like, Jay, you were great on there, and he said, "Oh, okay. Who did I play?" He said, "You played you," and he's like, some reason I don't remember that one.
Oh my goodness.
You know, I understand that. Like, I can't even remember what I had for dinner last night, so I imagine if you've acted a bunch and you've been in a bunch of stuff, you might not remember everything. He was, what's his name? He played in Ingeborg Montoya. He killed my father. Mandy Patinkin.
Yeah.
Mandy Patinkin.
Mandel.
I met him at the, they had a big group, like a meetup thing for that Showtime show that he's on.
Homeland.
Thank you, Homeland. Yeah.
He's on Homeland?
And and it was like there was a party up on the roof of this event, and I went up there and I walked up to him and I was like, "Hey," I was like, "Mandy," I was like, "I just wanted to say, I didn't say I loved you in Homeland, or I loved you in The Princess Bride.
Right.
I didn't do any of that shit.
Yeah.
I just walked up to him and I said, Night of the Juggler. I said, I just watched that for the first time. And into credit, I had just seen it like a month before. I watched it at the New Beverly Cinema, which is Quentin Tarantino's theater that he owns out here in Los Angeles. So I said, I just watched it at the New Bev, and I was like, my God, man. I said, you were great, which he was. He had a very small role. He played a taxi cab driver. And you could just see in his brain it, like, trying to register. And he was like, oh, my God. He just stopped everything. He was like, oh, my God. He's like, I haven't thought of that in years. And he said, I think that was my first film ever. And he said, yeah, it was either this one or the other one. And he's like, no, I think it was Night of the Juggler was my first one. He's like, wow. He's like, wow, thank you. That was like, I hadn't thought of that in so long. Because that was in the 70s, in like the 60s or 70s. I think it was in the 70s. And he had not thought of that film because it'd been, 40 years or something, So I get that, I get not being able to remember something.
Well, and to be fair, I mean, who's been on television more than Jay Leno? I mean, my gosh, this guy, he's on TV all the time. I get it. And yeah, it's funny you bring up old Mandy Patinkin. Yeah, that's wow. Anyway, let's get down to what we're talking about today. We're going to rank the best and worst X-Men films. But before we get started, Kevin, I have to ask you, because I know you're going to have a clear answer to this. Who is your favorite X-Men?
Like the favorite X-Men character?
Personally favorite. It doesn't have to be like we're going to grade him on
Hero
this.
or villain?
I'm going to say either or.
Okay, it's got to be Apocalypse. Hands down, right?
Him and Mr. Sinister, yeah, they are two personal favorites of mine.
Yeah. I forgot about Mr. Sinister. You do equally like him, but I think Apocalypse...
A little bit more.
Yeah, a little bit more. Simply because that guy dressed up as Apocalypse had to tell you to stop following him around.
I know. I was stalking him.
I remember that.
Donald, who's your favorite X-Men?
Beast.
It's a good choice.
Yeah.
Hank McCoy.
And the fact that Kelsey Grammer played him was even sweeter.
I thought Banshee was your favorite.
Hell no. That's not quite racist, but kind of a little bit.
I thought you enjoyed
Because I'm part Irish. 'Cause why would I have to like a guy that screams and he's Irish?
Well, I thought you enjoyed that.
Man, I didn't even have the first appearance of Banshee.
I thought you did.
I had the first appearance of Beast. Not like X-Men #1, but the cool Beast. The one with the great fur.
The hairy beast.
Yeah.
I see.
And I will have to go with Magneto, quite possibly the most complex character in Marvel Comics.
Yeah,
He's up there.
quite possibly the most complex character in comic books in general.
Of course.
Yeah,
Of course. It's
absolutely.
like I like to make that distinction between DC and Marvel because like comparing them, you can do it obviously. I just prefer not to.
No, you're smart not to do that.
Okay.
Right. Apples and oranges.
So we're gonna do like a legit countdown here.
Yes.
And of course, on our countdown list will not be the New Mutants, Kevin.
No, because unfortunately, no one's seen it yet, and possibly no one ever will see it.
It'll come out. Disney Plus, they'll get desperate and they'll throw it out on there.
So, Kevin, Donald, I'm going to ask you this. I'll give you a chance to flex those massive biceps of yours. How many copies do you guys have of the New Mutants Part 1?
Like the original series, you mean?
Oh, no, the book.
Or the graphic novel. The book with their first appearance.
Yeah, the book with their first appearance.
That'd be Marvel...
Yeah, what
number
was it?
4.
It was,
Marvel,
yeah.
Marvel graphic novel number 4.
That's right.
There we go.
I had it and sold it
Really?
immediately. I bought it at a comic shop because they had like 30% off. And so I went on my lunch break. I drove to go get it and I bought it. And then I immediately put it up on eBay
Wow.
to sell it for $60 or $70 more, I
You're a
think.
profiteer.
I know, but you know what? I knew that movie was going to like suck a fuck. To be honest, like I just had a
Well, it
feeling.
never got released.
No shit. Well, what do you think that states?
Well, look.
That it's of good quality?
Well, you have to understand, when you're caught between the internal politics of a studio being
Oh,
sold...
piss posh.
And
And I meant that on purpose. Piss posh. Basically,
you're crapping on these people, the producers,
look,
the
if I'm
writers,
a profiteer,
and the
then I'm
actors.
smart because that movie never got released, and I sold it when it was hot.
Arya Stark's in that movie.
I sold it when it was hot.
Arya Stark's in that movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of hot like comics with New Mutants, out of curiosity, correct me if I'm wrong. I am not the person who goes down and memorizes all the first appearances, but didn't Cable debut in a New Mutants?
Correct.
Yes.
Number 87.
Yeah, and 80. What was it? 90? Was it Deadpool or was it 89? 88.
No,
Which issue was it?
98.
98. That's right.
And I'm sure you guys have a hand. I know you have more than one copy of Cable's first appearance.
Actually, I do.
No,
Actually,
I think
do.
I have one.
Actually, I do.
You have one?
Well, not if you're counting second print. You can't count second prints.
Yes, you
No.
can. Oh, yes,
Bullshit.
you can. I have first
Get
and second
out of
print.
here. That doesn't count.
Yes, it does.
No, that
Yes, it
doesn't.
does.
That doesn't mean you have multiple copies of the same issue. You don't. You have one first print and one second print.
But he is asking if
You
I
need
have
to
more
specify.
than one.
You
Fine,
need to
fine,
specify.
Fine. I'll be specific. How's
there needs
that?
to be an asterisk next to your bullshit
Fine.
lies, Kevin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
You got problems, man.
Oh, I got problems.
First
Starts
of
with
all-
a K, ends with an N.
First of all, I have all. Let me just say this right now. I have all 100 of the original issues of New Mutants.
Oh, people out there are fapping to this.
as they should. As they should.
I mean, look, I'm a little impressed. Look, anybody who has a complete collection of anything, you have got to give them their props.
Thank you. Give me my props. Give me
Sure,
my props.
something popular like that they put out a ton of issues of. Yeah, sure, give them some props for that. Yeah, why not?
I mean, I own a Spawn #1. Speaking of popular issues.
Well, that's wonderful.
If you had like, I had the first 23 Spawn issues. Good for you. So did every child in the 90s.
I have 1.7 million copies were printed of
But let me
Spawn
ask you
#1.
something. Do you have the Home Shopping Network special edition box that Spawn #1 came in?
Do you have the Malibu Sun issue that it actually technically made its first appearance?
Oh, did it technically make its first appearance in there? Or Rust, where there was an advertisement for it? Huh?
Or can you technically name the last decade Spawn was even relevant?
Well,
actually,
according to
yes.
McFarlane, it's
Yes.
right now
That's
because
right.
the movie that's coming out.
That's
but-
right.
Allegedly. And
Yeah.
I know it's going to come
have
out.
some respect for Mr. McFarlane. He's working hard.
Yeah, I'm sure he's working hard.
He is
Kevin.
working hard.
I have respect for the man's art.
Look, Canadians work hard.
Canadians work hard. Really? We're going to go there. Okay. I don't want to talk about Justin Trudeau right now. You're pushing me, though.
James Cameron, Jim Carrey,
You're pushing me.
John
Candy.
Rick Moranis.
Rick
Oh,
Moranis?
what are we gonna go with next? Michael Moore, Geddy Lee. I mean, come on, Brian Adams. Celine
Ryan
Dion.
Reynolds.
Bret Hart?
Brett the Hitman Hart. He's the Hitman.
Oh shit! He just hit you where it hurt, Darren, because that's your number one. That's your boy.
That is my boy, and I have my reasons.
He's the love of your life.
I gave a very good case.
You did?
You did not give a good case for Sting.
Oh, no.
Kevin.
I disagree.
I gave a really good case for who was it?
Macho Man, was it? No,
Was
wasn't
either
Macho
Hogan
Man.
or Rowdy Piper. I
Oh,
think it was
Piper. It was Piper. It was Piper.
Piper was the
Please.
best.
Piper,
case.
Canada. Also from Canada.
By the
Right,
way,
Piper.
if you want his left boot from one of his matches, it's available on eBay for over $10,000. I'm just throwing that out there in case anybody wants to get me something
Christmas
for
gift.
Christmas in the future.
Or your birthday next
Any
year.
Christmas.
And I'm not.
any birthday.
I mean, of course, I don't need to point out that Rowdy Piper, one of his last matches, he lost the belt to Bret Hart. But anyway,
A fellow Canadian.
before we really get into this top 12 countdown, I think this is a great opportunity to talk about our favorite comic retailer.
Yes, the place that you go to get the
Where
Godfather
everybody
discount.
knows your name.
You got that right.
Do. Okay.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, everyone. Just wanted to mention real quick about a shop in Canoga Park, California called Spiro's Heroes. Elliot, the proprietor of the store, has over 300,000 books in what's called the Temple of Comics. That's Spiro Heroes in Canoga Park, spirosheroes.com.
Wow, what an advertisement. I mean, it was just an advertisement for... It was the best thing.
An
I can't
advertisement
even,
for the ages.
I'm speechless. Wow, this was incredible. Over that many comic books?
Yes, that is an advertisement for the ages.
Do you imagine just like going in there and jumping in like Scrooge McDuck does with his coins?
Oh, yes.
Do you think Elliot does that with
I
his
think
comic
so.
books?
I think he does.
There's over 400,000 books. Do you think he piles them up and dives in?
When he opens up by himself,
Swims in them?
he swims in them. Absolutely.
Son of a bitch.
And look, I watched a Scott Baio classic high school film, Zapped.
Oh shit.
Came
I
out in
forgot about that.
1982.
Everybody's clothes fell off.
And look, it did not age well, but that Spiro's ad continues to age well.
Like a fine wine, baby.
That ad is eternal.
All right, let's get to this list, yeah?
Yes.
Should we start with number 12 or number 1?
Let's start with number 12.
Yeah, we got to count down.
We got to count down, brother. Come on
Yeah,
now.
and everybody knows what this one is. Come on.
I think about
a
90%
no-brainer.
of you in the audience will probably agree with this.
If you're
with all due respect, of course.
butchering one of the
The merc with the
quintessential
mouth.
characters,
the
yes.
merc with the mouth.
Doing what they did with Ryan Reynolds in I don't know if somebody was pissed at him or what, because Ryan Reynolds
Tom Rothman.
known
The executive Tom
to have
Rothman.
a silver tongue on the screen and
know.
be a wise ass.
So-
Gets muted like that is just insane, and then puts like spike things
Yeah.
coming out of his hands and
Yeah.
shit. What the fuck was that? Laser beams out of his eyes?
Unfortunately, from what I hear, from what they say to Tom Rothman, the Fox executive at the time,
Is any of us friends with this guy?
no.
Good.
No, but
Fuck it.
we know people who know people who know people, so we're trying to be as nice, or what we call nice.
Yes. But out of respect, there's one thing I did like about the movie. The Gambit I thought was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that was played by what's his face? Friday Night Lights guy.
Oh, Taylor Kitsch,
Yeah.
Taylor Kitsch.
Mm-hmm.
who's underrated.
He is. He absolutely is. I actually really liked him in Battleship. I thought it was great.
Oh, he was fantastic. And of course, Lone Survivor, he had a nice part there, too.
Yes, that's true. He was good in that.
Now, I will tell you, if there's one thing that I really do like, and look, all these movies, even if we're hard on them, we still like something. I love the opening credit sequence of Wolverine. That was great. As you were watching he and Sabretooth throughout, like, history, in
That's
the opening credits going, that was really awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. I also like the Blob in it. And that's played by the guy that was in Mystery Alaska and the Strain. The Dark Horse series.
Who was he in Mystery Alaska?
Mystery Alaska, he was one of the hockey players. I'm not sure if he was the goalie or not. I don't think he was, but big dude, big imposing.
Oh, the big
dude.
guy. Yeah, that would
yeah.
be the goalie. That's a great movie. Greatest review ever. The Rocky of Hockey.
Yeah.
Rocky of Hockey.
Yeah, all of you out there in podcast land, if you haven't watched Mystery Alaska, it's actually a really good time to do so. It's, heading towards winter time. You're going to have some snow on the ground if you're in the Midwest or in the North. Pop that in. It's a winner. It's so good.
No, my lovely lady got it for me last Christmas on DVD.
And a surprise appearance from Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Just a joy.
As in Austin Powers, Mike?
And,
Yeah.
and is there really a performance from Hank Azaria we don't like?
It's true. It's true.
He's great.
The man can knock it out of the park.
So, number 11, this probably doesn't come as much of a surprise.
For some it might. We have decided on X-Men 3: The Last Stand.
Oh my god, that's a surprise to me.
Directed by Brett Ratner.
Okay, I argued for this one to be in that position. Reasoning why is because I think we all know. After the high note that was X-Men 2, it just fell so flat. It wasn't even as good as the first X-Men, which was kind of a trial ground, zero for comic book films in a way. They were picking up where Blade left off and seeing if there was a viable product there, and there was. And they got very lucky and very fortunate, and there was some talent there. Don't get me wrong, but I will say the moving of the Golden Gate Bridge by Magneto was really awesome.
Of course,
near the end there.
Of course.
The best two things I felt about that whole film were Ben Foster being cast as Angel, whether they did anything with that character or not, which they really didn't do much, and Kelsey Grammer as the Beast.
Dr. McCoy.
Was the most, as you all know now, the Beast is my favorite character. And to have someone that's so eloquent in the way they sound and the way they enunciate, play that character.
He looked the part.
Just what I sat there with the biggest boner you've ever seen in your entire life. People could not sit near me. My boner was so big. In fact, they complained to management because it was radiating heat and light, and people were having trouble seeing the screen.
Also, another highlight I'll give the movie was the very beginning where you saw the de-aged versions of Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart when they went to meet a young Jean Grey.
Oh, you think it's a highlight?
I thought it was pretty cool.
I thought it was terribly done.
I thought
it looked really fake.
Really?
Then.
I like it.
And I'm sure if you look at it now, it probably looks like fucking stick figures.
I wouldn't go that far. So here's the thing. Highlights, of course, Rebecca Romaine was naked.
As always.
Because she got, unmutant.
See, there's something about her eyes. One thing I always liked about her version of Mystique is something about her eyes.
Yeah.
Those eyes. It's just like
she sells sexual...
They're sexy, but also sinister.
Sexual danger.
She's very feminine because she's like not only statuesque, but she's got like hips and everything. She's very feminine. Now, this is just a personal preference of mine. I wasn't crazy about the anti-mutant serum. That just wasn't... It was a little bit of a stretch for me personally, because I'm not just viewing this as, did you stay loyal to the comic book? I'm viewing this as a movie as well. And as a movie, I didn't mind it because it was simplistic, which I think is a good criticism of it. But it just kind of flies right by, and there's just not much substance there for you to remember. And of course, at the time that it had come out, if you're going to say that there's an X-Men named Arclight, poop on that. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want Arclight. I don't want any reference to Arclight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, I knew you would go there.
That's
We may or may have not all worked there at one point in time, which is possibly where we may or may not have all met, which is good. I'll give them credit for that. It was good, and the fact that their candy bars were quite tasty. Those Ghirardelli ones.
The caramel corn.
Caramel corn was delightful.
I made some of the best
I used to
caramel corn.
put dark chocolate Ghirardelli bars in my caramel corn.
And someone else did something even more devious with their caramel corn.
They spit in it?
No.
Semen.
No. Something else they did. That'd be bad.
Titty milk.
No, we don't want to get sued.
But here's the thing too. We got to also consider too, like emo Rogue. I wasn't crazy about emo Rogue.
Actually, to be honest with you, the Rogue...
Anna Paquin?
Well, no, in the way that the character was... The arc of the character part. It's not Anna Paquin. I have no problem with her. She's actually an outstanding actress.
Yeah, she is.
But and also too, I like how they kind of elevated Pyro, because I never viewed Pyro as like a major X-Men, but I love how they elevated him because I love that power.
Yeah, they made him kind of the opposite of Bobby Iceman, so that worked. And it gave Bobby something to do because he really didn't have anything to do before that, to be honest.
And Bobby's pretty powerful when he's used correctly.
Yeah, he's like a top level.
Omega level.
Yeah, we've talked about that before with Jarrett.
But I'm going to make a case, and we can move on, but I'm going to make a case that I would have bumped this up our list at least 1 or 2 spots. Because I don't dislike it quite as much as you guys do.
I don't dislike it either, to a point. But
had to go somewhere.
It's not something I've ever wanted to go back and revisit. And that's why it's so far away from the top of the list, for me, anyway.
Oi, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
Yeah. I mean, there is that. That was good fan service for a YouTube video, and a lot of people got a chuckle out of that. So I'll give them that, too. I really will. What's the next one?
Number 10, The Wolverine.
Okay, so Kevin remembers this one really well.
Yes.
And we were talking about it. Darren didn't even remember seeing it.
Nope.
And I remembered it as being the most forgettable of the films. In fact, I would have put X-Men 3 above this because I just felt that the Wolverine was so boring and I did not care.
So you didn't like the Yakuza plot?
The Silver Samurai bullshit where he pulled and got into a Zoid and like tried to attack him was stupid. Just so ignorant and so disrespectful to the source material of the character.
So you tell the James...
It just made me... I vomited in the theater.
You would tell the James...
No one could sit near me. Again, no one could sit near me. People couldn't see the screen because I was projectile vomiting into the air. So got myself completely a mess.
So you would tell the director James Mangold, a very honorable man, a man who did that Johnny Cash movie, to his face.
I would say Mangold created main Cole, to be honest.
Not to be that guy, but to at the same time totally be that guy. I've been an actor in a James Mangold movie.
Oh, have you now?
Yes.
Which one?
Night and Day with Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz.
Which is fun.
Nice.
Yeah, you just bought that on Blu-ray not too long ago.
Oh.
So I'm telling you, James Mangold is this extraordinarily talented guy.
Yes, he
but
is.
I'm telling you, the source material's wrong here, and I'll tell you why it's wrong, because in small spats, especially take X-Men 3, for example, I love that moment where Xavier gets blown up by the Phoenix and Magneto's like, Charles! Like, you can actually see he doesn't want him to die. And I think X-Men drama is really effective in those small little spats.
That's right.
If you're going to draw this out for an entire film, which to me is what the Wolverine did, I'm just not down with that. That's just me personally as a viewer of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I just don't like the extenuating drama.
You didn't like... Well, here's one part you guys had to the least enjoyed was the very end. The last scene.
Was Kelly Hu in
I
this
don't
film?
remember it.
Just remember the last scene is basically like a cameo for things to come, where you saw Xavier and Magneto at the airport when Wolverine was coming back to the States.
Oh, yeah.
And they tell him, hey, we need your help, and then of course that led to
the first
Days of Future Past.
Was it Days of Future Past?
Yeah.
But Kevin,
Wait.
I had to
Yes.
Oh, because that came after.
Yeah.
How much
right.
garbage did I have to get through to get there, though?
Right. That was an exciting point. I do remember that now.
See?
But that was the only thing I liked. And it's
You
weird
didn't
that I forgot about it already. This is just an
You didn't
odd
like-
movie
you
that
like-
shouldn't
you-
have happened.
You didn't like the plot twist with the old man?
No, it was
wanting-
stupid. It was predictable
He
and
saved his life in
dumb.
World War II, and
Oh, forget it. I'm done. I'm done
What's
with
number
this movie.
9? I'm sorry. Let's just
Move
go to
on.
number
Mr.
9.
Mangold, I appreciate your film.
He appreciates you. I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely I do.
Yeah, the guy shot a pretty movie. So what?
Let's do it. Next one.
Number
Next
9,
one.
disrespectful bastards, X-Men Apocalypse.
All right. Now, here's
this one
where
we all three of us can go to work on.
we're talking about miscasting like a motherfucker.
Especially the main villain.
The main villain being such a small in stature character.
And doesn't
in
have
this.
the voice.
No.
Just lacks the voice, lacks the charisma.
They should have gotten the guy that did the voice for the cartoon
Yes.
and had him like lip sync over whoever the hell they had do
And
it.
then you get some big wrestler to at least be in the freaking suit.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
And I don't recall the setup bothering
Kevin
me that
Nash.
much. Yeah, Kevin Nash would be great.
Yep.
I don't recall the
Bigger,
setup bothering me that much because I heard a lot of people trash this movie. But an hour in, I was like, okay, like my attention's being held. But the last hour and a half, you heard me. Last hour and a half. This is an extremely long film, people.
Yeah, it was a little bloated.
Apocalypse.
Oscar Isaac.
So I'm offended by how inert it was. It was just boring.
And the way they decided to frame Apocalypse, you kind of made him into like a cult leader, essentially. For all intents and purposes. You're not really seeing the true power.
And I understand why they went that route, probably because of budget limitations.
Right.
But I think the opening was great.
Yeah, opening's cool.
With them in the future,
Yes.
and them, having to go back and like try to fix things or whatnot. I think that's what happened, right? There was they were in the future, or no? Was that the other
I
one?
think that was the other movie. So.
God damn it! So this movie's even worse than I thought.
Man.
It is. It's. I'd hate to say trash, but there's just nothing redeeming.
There was
about
a silly Wolverine cameo in this movie too.
Was this New Storm's first appearance?
Yes.
Okay, poor lady.
She had like
don't remember that.
she had like
Yeah.
the 80s cut.
Yeah, and she was like doing lightning bolts at him, and like Evan Peters, who does Peter Maximoff, Quicksilver, he was running up the bolts or some shit to try to come after him. And that was a cool scene. I remember that.
Wait, hold on. Storm.
That
You mean
happened
the
in
Mistress of the Elements?
Yes.
Storm, Mistress of the Elements.
Absolutely.
She's the best.
What's the next on our list there, Kevin? Unless you want to continue going.
Nope,
with
I'm good.
All right, great.
Moving on.
Number 8, X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Okay, so about this film. I know a lot of you are going to argue with me, and you're going to say it should have been higher up on the crap. It should have been, like near 12.
Mm-hmm.
My argument is, for everything that went wrong in this film, it somehow maintained its entertainment factor for me. Now, maybe I'm biased because I went in a month after, watched it at a second-run theater, paid $4 to see it, sat in there expecting complete trash, and was actually pleasantly surprised. They had to do so much surgery with this film, specifically because they had designed Skrulls to be the main villain in the story. And when they found out that Captain Marvel was doing the same goddamn thing, putting Skrulls in there, they immediately went, oh, fuck. And they said, we gotta, change this. So they changed it out to some other villainous characters in the Marvel universe. I can't remember what they called them, to be honest. But they weren't Skrulls. Would have been a much cooler film had they kept it, but I can see why they had to change it. And by changing that, they had to change the whole ending to the film, which was massive. And what they did was they created this train sequence instead. And I will tell you, it is still solid entertainment. It still had me. I was tight in my seat, gripping, like watching this train sequence, where basically Magneto pulls us like a subway train out of the freaking ground and has it come in and crash into a building in order to open the building because he's after Jean Grey. He wants to kill her because he knows if he doesn't stop her, the Dark Phoenix will take over and could possibly destroy the universe. So he's on a mission to do this. So it was kind of really cool to have these characters fight against each other and for each other that you normally didn't get to see. And I liked the story. I thought it moved fast. It was fast-paced for what it was. And I thought the characters were still as well done as they could ever have been. The only problem I still hold with this is Jennifer Lawrence, of course, plays Mystique.
Yes.
Now, there's an event that takes place in this film, which some people may or may not like. And I won't bring it up because I know some people haven't seen it still. It's relatively new. But I enjoyed this scene probably the most because it helped elevate the film and it helped create a dynamic again that it brought it back to its base in what it should be. Jennifer Lawrence in these films is becoming quickly too much of a hero. So we all know that this was like her last film. So it was nice that she was able to take a step back and what happened would be able to elevate some of the other characters. So for me, it worked out well.
Did you like Jessica Chastain?
And I enjoyed it. Jessica Chastain was whatever. It could have been played by anybody, to be honest. She was inconsequential. I just enjoyed the film for what it was. And I liked it, and I thought it was a much better film than the first time they tried to do the Dark Phoenix.
So you thought it was a nice exit for Fassbender and McAvoy?
Would I have preferred something better? Yes, absolutely. Was I okay with what happened? Yeah, I'm just going to have to be. They both played their part, and they did it well.
And it's pretty concise, but one more point to bring up, especially those of you, when we talk about book prospecting, we have brought up multiple times, I know I have, the Dark Phoenix story. At this point, because it's been done to death, it's a long-term prospecting option, but the Dark Phoenix is one of the best stories in X-Men.
That's true.
I would jump on it, because the book's not super expensive.
Jump on it, you're stallion, ride it.
I mean, I've seen that thing anywhere from $60 to $90 in good shape.
Yep.
So I mean, it's for long-term prospecting.
Yeah,
I would definitely look into it.
Probably another 10 years before we see the MCU.
Not a bad
use
idea.
it.
Next one.
Number 7, Deadpool 2.
Deadpool 2.
I despise the Deadpool movies.
Darren really pushed to get this lower on our list, or higher, I guess, number-wise.
That's the way you see nihilism.
Well, thanks for tagging my lines. Yeah, it's too nihilistic for me. I just everything that's done is just it's just there's too much evil in the movie for me. That's just
Dubstep.
Yeah.
Loved it. Loved the dubstep.
Yeah,
That was great.
Now that being said,
Cable, awesome.
For those of you who have a dark sense of humor, now that doesn't mean, even though I despise these movies, there's still scenes that I like. And the skydiving scene is the perfect scene for that movie. That got the attitude of that movie
This film's
absolutely correct.
old enough we can mention it.
Brad Pitt, I believe, had a little cameo.
Yeah, everybody basically, he forms a team and everybody basically dies, and it's amazing.
In the jump.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny.
It's amazing. Yeah, one of them, they're all parachuting, and one parachutes right into a wood chipper, if I recall, right?
Right.
It's the best. And like they're trying to pull him back out and save him, and they can. He just gets, one paratroops. He's invisible. Paratroops right into a power line. I think that was Brad Pitt's character.
It was, and you at that point also may have doubted that there was even an invisible man. It might have just been a joke.
Right.
Yet there really was.
Yeah, and I think probably the weakest point in the film was the surprise villain, which was, of course, spoilers, the Juggernaut.
Right.
Being the surprise villain. I think that's the weakest point, primarily because he was all CG. I don't feel a character like that should ever be CGI created. I feel like they could have created... we saw it. We saw it at Comic-Con. They created a suit, and the guy was able to get around pretty well with it, and he looked freaking badass.
That's what you have to do.
Huge and badass. We have a small video clip of it on our Instagram page for the Real Short Box. So if you guys get a chance, it's a few in because the comic convention we were at was a few months ago. But scroll through and you'll see it. And it's awesome.
Also, too, one other scene I will give credit. I do like the intro of Domino's superpower.
Yes, that's great too.
It was funny. It fit the movie, but the rest of this movie, it's too much for me. But
you enjoy Cable at least?
Cable's great.
Josh Brolin is Josh Brolin.
It's Josh Brolin.
I mean, there's
he's
no
not
question.
playing Thanos. If he's not in
fighting fires,
or he's not in a Coen's brother movie, or playing,
or being a Goonie,
and nothing he does on the surface seems super complex, but his acting is quite outstanding in a lot of things. But
yeah, he's great.
There's just too much dispensing of bodies and too much of a laugh about killing people, and that's just not really my style.
Well, I can't disagree with you on that point there, especially everything going on today in society. So I can understand that point of view. Because there's a lot of horrible things going on out there that, yes, it could be disturbing.
And they laugh about it.
Right.
But it's just a personal preference.
I respect that.
It was personal offense. But that being said, I think it's very effective at what it wants to do.
Next.
Number 6. 2000's original X-Men.
Yep. Now this is one that I actually would have put Deadpool 2 ahead of, and I argued for this, but I ultimately took a back seat because it is the opening movie. It is what created the X-Men franchise, but Sabretooth was like low rent Sabretooth. Mm-hmm. It's like Sabretooth you'd see. They found a cosplayer at a convention in northeastern Ohio. And said, you're the guy.
Taylor Maine, professional wrestler.
Right. Obviously prefer the other Sabretooth from later.
In a way, yes, I do, actually. More sinister.
Lee Schreiber.
More sinister. And not more Mr. Sinister. But they did nail a lot of things, and I'm so happy. Everybody that was involved, from the writing to the directing to the producing, everybody that had a hand in this, my hat's off to you, and just... well done. You know what I mean? You did work with what you had, and you were able to put something together that I had not experienced up until that point. And let me explain. Once again, I'm sitting in a movie theater. There's no boners or vomit. I'm just sitting in the packed movie theater in the year 2000, and it's in my hometown, and small hometown that never really sells out of anything but Beavis and Butthead Do America. That's like the only thing I've ever been in that sold out.
That's a good movie, actually.
Right. So this was a packed house, and the excitement, the energy at the late night viewing of this, I think it was like 10 o'clock at night or something, everybody in the theater was talking about it, was excited to see their favorite characters. I was leaning back and talking to the people behind me in the seats. We were all gushing over our favorite mutants, our favorite X-Men that we were finally going to get to see on the big screen. It was awesome. It was awesome. I only have technical, little petty arguments with this film, but it was great. It was great because it gave us what we wanted in a way.
Also, there was a chance that you would not have seen Hugh Jackman as Wolverine at all. All thanks to Mission Impossible 2.
And Doug Ray Scott.
Doug Ray Scott, poor guy.
Ang Lee.
If it wasn't for, actually, it was John Woo.
That's what I meant.
John Woo.
Come on, man, get it right.
Nah, I get confused.
John Woo, unfortunately.
You know, Ang Lee did have a part in that. I'm just making it.
Right. Yeah, John Woo and Mission Impossible 2's production went overtime, shall we say, and that way, unfortunately, they had to recast Doug Ray Scott's role as Wolverine, and Hugh Jackman was up next.
You know, originally Jackie Chan was going to get the part.
The Wolverine?
Yeah, because he worked a lot with Ang Lee.
Of course.
But to also be fair, Mission Impossible 2 made a lot of people a lot of money. So I mean, it's not like he wasn't a part of something great.
Oh, of course.
Now,
although it is the weakest Mission Impossible film, in my opinion.
Well, that's another podcast.
Yeah, that'll be another podcast.
And you are correct, sir.
That'll be another podcast.
I think, honestly, the later they get, the better they get. But that's just how I feel.
That's the exception to the rule, in my opinion. I would flip those around.
Yeah, I would say it would. Number one would be the second least favorite for me, for sure.
Oh, correct. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So go number
To me,
two,
those
number
first two are
one,
the
and
weakest.
then
Those first
on
two are the
from
weak-
there.
those
But yeah,
first two
that's
are
a
the
podcast
weakest.
for another time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I want to talk just real quickly about X-Men. So, as a lover of like action films and action scenes, you know, Marvel did something very unusual, or it makes a lot of sense, but it was kind of unusual. They kept passing on the big movies until the CGI was at a point that they could really mass release these. That sequence that, like, what's his name? Toad was never like a big deal to me, right?
It was Ray Parks, right?
Yeah, Ray Park.
It was Ray Park. But there was that sequence where Cyclops is ready to shoot this guy, and Toad's tongue smacks his little visor off, and he blew up a roof. I'm like, that's unbelievable for 2000. The year 2000, that is an outstanding special effect. That fight up on the Statue of Liberty, an outstanding special effect. It kind of showed you what a Marvel movie could be.
And also, what also made this movie good is the strength of two strong actors.
Perfectly cast.
Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart. So they helped give gravitas, brought seriousness, respectability.
Again, I was not on Ian McKellen's. I was not Team Ian McKellen until I watched the film, and then I went, I get it now. But I wasn't on his side, and I was like, he's too old. Obviously, he's not. You know what I mean? Like if you think about the timeline, he's not. But in the comic books, he always looks so
younger.
much stronger and younger than Charles.
Looks like a strong middle-aged man in the comics.
Right? Yeah.
And also, too, Ian just like the intellect that oozed from him to play that character was just unbelievable.
Snide remarks and just arrogance behind it too. Yeah, perfect.
If you remember in X3, real quick, I love when all those like X-Men go fight and they all fall down and they're like, he's like, we got to go in there. And he's like, in chess, the pawns go first. That's great stuff.
That was great.
Anyway, so what's next on our list here, Kevin?
Number 5, X-Men Days of Future Past.
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage.
Peter
As
Dinklage.
Boulevard Trask.
Peter Dinklage.
Perfect casting as Boulevard Trask.
Yes. Great time travel movie, too.
You know, I had a roommate at one point, and he just kept begging me, like, oh my God, you've got to see this movie. And I thought he was on drugs or something, because I'm like, wow, you really, like, this is your hill to die on is Days of Future Past, right? What a really enjoyable movie. I like that conundrum. We know it's predictable what's going to happen. I love that conundrum with Professor Xavier. Like, do I continue to take the drugs and walk, or just be a telepath? I love that part. I love watching the X-Men get their butts kicked.
In the beginning with
God.
while they're in the future against the Sentinels.
And we got to see
Oh my
Bishop.
God.
Which was super exciting. And we got to see, what's his face? One of the other New Mutants at the time, right? Wasn't it?
Which one?
The Native American one. Was his name?
Warpath?
Yeah, wasn't it Warpath? Wasn't he in there?
Yeah, maybe Warpath.
I think it was Warpath.
And I love a X-Men film. This is one of the X-Men films that's very plot heavy that I really liked, because some of the other ones are plot cumbersome. This is super plot heavy, and it's awesome.
And what I really like, we finally got to see a little bit more of Storm's powers against the Sentinels. And also,
It's true.
And
yeah,
also,
she held them off.
Yeah, we also saw how this is where you bring the pain. How the Sentinels, how they adapt. You know, once you kill one off, they realize they send the program. Okay, this is how you handle this particular mutant.
Yeah.
So even like the most, think about it.
They're learning.
They're learning. So you're getting down to those last few mutants
like
left.
any program. would do.
Yep. So you see Magneto along with the remaining X-Men that are still alive. Literally, this should have been called the last stand. Making their last stand against the Sentinels before they got killed off. And meanwhile, they had this emergency plan. They got to go back into the past, and of course, use Logan obviously.
So cool
to fix
very smart
the future, which worked.
You bring your most popular X-Men with your most popular actor from the X-Men, and put him as the star in the franchise.
And basically, he's the link between the two, franchises within the franchise.
And of course, Spiro's Heroes, one of our absolute favorite comic shop, actually does have the Days of Future Past books.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they still, I believe, have them. So if anybody wants to grab them, definitely a good idea.
Yeah, definitely a little mini classic over the last 5 years.
Yeah, what's the one that we have right after that, though?
The next film?
Yeah.
Number 4, which I personally would have switched out for X-Men Days of Futures Past, is the first Deadpool movie.
You'd be correct, too.
Thank you.
I hate everything about this movie, by the way.
I am sorry. It's fun.
It is fun.
It's super fun. I think it's
great
It's
chemistry.
a more watchable film than Days of Future Past. You can put Deadpool 1 on at any point in time. Just get up, grab a drink, sit back down, and enjoy some silly fun. You don't have a lot of silly fun in the X-Men franchise.
No.
And this brings that, and I think that that's important, which is why it's so high, and why I argued it for it to be above the other film, Days of the Future Past, because of that, because of the rewatchability, and because it's a light-hearted, fun film that you can enjoy.
With lots of blood.
Lots of blood. I will also say that this film, out of any of the other X-Men films, brought people into the theater that would never have set foot in a theater to watch an X-Men film.
Well, the financial success cannot be debated.
We
all know that,
not
yes.
just that, but it's reach to get people that weren't comic fans to watch it because it looked fun and it had Ryan Reynolds and he's cute
and Monica Barak.
And it showed an R-rated Marvel film can have success.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, I mean, I don't want to repeat, from Deadpool 2, it's the same opinion. I just loaded with cynicism, loaded with nihilism. Just not my thing.
Right,
but
understood.
I have to admire Ryan Reynolds did carry his
born to play the part.
asinine performance the entire film. I'll give him credit.
And he was born to play the part.
That takes talent.
I will also
he was born to play the part.
give him credit for knowing when to take the mask off and when to keep it on.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't see that with Stallone. 100%. Judge Dredd, why I love that film, motherfucker couldn't keep his helmet on.
I'm the law.
I always have to have my helmet off so they see my face. Fuck off.
We all
dude.
know who he is.
Keep the helmet on, right? Yeah. Reynolds knows his place. If somebody says, would you rather hang out with Deadpool or Ryan Reynolds? 9 times out of 10, everybody's going to go Deadpool. Because he's more fun. Because he's got that mask on. Ryan Reynolds is just Ryan Reynolds. Deadpool is everything to comic book fans and to people that just like enjoying themselves in a theater. That's why it was so high up on the list.
And he has a quality sidekick in T.J. Miller.
As well as his girlfriend.
Yes.
As well as the taxi driver.
Oh, yeah. You know what? He's like a little small part that makes it fun.
Yeah.
That guy's funny.
Man, Kevin, we're getting into some heavy hitters.
Yes, we're getting to the top 3.
Mm-hmm.
What do we got?
I'm ready for you to cry. Go ahead, Kevin. Come on.
Number 3.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Logan.
Yes, Kevin wanted this higher.
I wanted this at number 2 at least.
Yeah.
Defend it.
Now, I know we had a little argument here. I feel Logan is one of the best written,
most forgettable film.
Best acted, very powerful, somewhat of a smaller film, because they focused in on just a few characters. And I think it's just a very powerful character-focused movie. You see Xavier getting towards the end of his life. His powers are going crazy. We find out that he murdered by accident many of his students because his powers are out of control. And Logan's there to take care of him. And then, of course, they introduce X-23.
I do like that aspect, that Xavier's kind of losing control of his powers and can't stop some of the things that happen that can hurt everyone in the world.
Yep.
It's interesting.
And as you were saying?
Yes, and then the introduction of X-23, you find out that they were working on cloning, Logan. You find out they finally get it done right, and there's also other children that they were using. The fact that there was a plague that basically wiped out the majority of mutants, that's pretty powerful. So you're kind of scaling down. You're not going to have a bunch of mutants running around. You kind of have this almost like a semi-apocalyptic story in the near future. Logan's also older, so basically they incorporated the old man Logan story a little bit in there. And
yes, they do.
You see that Wolverine is not, he's not as tough and strong. No, sorry, not tough. He's always tough. He's not as strong as he used to be, but he's hanging in there. And you have this plot that unfolds.
He doesn't heal as well.
He doesn't heal
That's
as well.
That's the big problem.
Big problem. Doesn't heal as well. So you get to that towards the end of Act 3, and it's just powerful. I mean, just the way that this man he's going out in glory, and he does. And also Xavier's, for those who've seen the movie, his death was quite powerful too.
So what you have here is you have a parallel to the movie Shane, basically.
Yes.
Now, I'm a little torn on this movie because
it's dark.
Because James Mangold is a fantastic director.
Thank you.
I don't know what he was doing with that other one, the Wolverine movie.
Right.
But
Night and Day.
James Night and Day. James Mangold is a fantastic director, and you can see his talent shining through in something like this.
He had more creative control over this one. That's the problem you guys have. The Wolverine, he didn't have as much control. That's why it wasn't as good as this one. This one, they gave him more creative control.
Right, and a good choice for this one was James Mangold. The issue is ultimately, and this is a preference issue, and I don't want to ding the movie, and I want to make it clear, I do like this movie to a degree. It's a reluctant recommendation because of the content and the subject matter. You are talking about these great heroes that have been built up, and yes, Logan's a little tormented, but he's tormented in almost a cartoony way in the earlier movies. You still like him and stuff. This is a movie where, like, Professor X, I mean, he's been reduced to garbage, and for the most part, he never, like, gets any of his powers back, and he's just disposed of the way he is, and Wolverine has this great blaze of glory, but then he's disposed of. I don't know. I just prefer to see my superheroes in a better light. The whole idea of them just being like these anti-heroes was just not for me. But like I said, I gotta give the props where the props are due.
Give the props.
Because they are.
Give those props
It's just
out.
a reluctant recommendation.
Right.
Well, it's not reluctant from me.
I will say that I like this film the most for the fact that it introduced X-23, and I had her first appearance. I paid 10 cents for that comic years ago, and I sold that bitch for $475.
Once again, a profiteer just
I
gloating.
was happy.
A profiteer
as
gloating.
a
By the way,
clam.
more props to the young lady that played X-23. That was good casting.
Yes, and all the
She
people
did a good
out there-
job of being an angsty teenager or preteen.
And listen,
probably
y'all
what she
out
was.
there who listen to our prospecting advice, you might think we're arrogant pricks, but let me tell you something. Two things can be true at once.
are.
We can be arrogant pricks and correct. And I'm telling you right now, 10 cents to 475, do the math, people.
Yeah, that's a smart investment, Kevin.
Yes,
Shame
it
on
is.
you for chastising me for that. Go sit in the corner.
All right. Kevin, it's getting even heavier.
Top two.
Wait, give us the second one and then go sit in the corner.
Number 2, X-Men, First Class.
Now in the corner.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, this is, man. We're like getting to the point of opinion is preference at this point.
Right. A lot of people will argue. And I think Zoe Kravitz playing a character that no one gave a shit about,
Yes.
doing with stupid powers that no one liked, is a big annoyance for this film.
That's why I would have switched it out.
I get that. But, motherfuck, if this wasn't like the introduction that we got to the younger Xavier and the younger Magneto, the Professor X and the Magneto that we always kind of wanted but never knew we needed, it was beautiful. Like, these guys nailed it 110%.
And a great villain in Kevin Bacon as Sebastian Shaw.
James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender were beautifully casted
Flawless.
Great
choices
chemistry.
that just, my God, whoever was involved with the casting in this,
Great chemistry.
my hat's off. Nicholas Hoult as Hank McCoy as Beast, perfect.
Yes.
I mean, they've just knocked it out of the park. And Kevin Bacon, you're right, was an awesome choice.
Because it was outside the box. You all know who
Right.
Kevin Bacon is. You just never pictured this would be his movie.
Right, and holy shit, that scene where like all the young X-Men are being trained and they're all partying and shit, and then like these agents start falling out of the sky onto the ground in different places, and they're like, what's going on? And it's like the evil version of Nightcrawler just dropping them the fuck from like the air.
Yes.
Poofing them, grabbing them, and poofing them up into the sky and
Azazel,
dropping them.
yes.
What the fuck? That was insane. So cool. That scene was so cool. And then the whole thing with what was it, like a coin or something that Magneto used to push into his brain to kind of basically paralyze Kevin Bacon's character was fucking nuts.
And
Got his revenge.
And they even to some degree, almost shot for shot, they kind of redid the original X-Men in First Class at the concentration camp,
Right.
and it worked great.
Wonderfully. A beautiful, soft reboot for a franchise that desperately needed it. People had given up on X-Men after X-Men 3. Let's be honest. While X-Men 3 wasn't perfect, it wasn't the worst film we've ever seen in our lives.
No.
It was just not what the fans wanted. So they said, let's take a step back and let's look at what's needed and what people want. And they delivered that with this film. Smartly.
And to give it a lot of compliments, I worked on this film, okay? Spent 2 weeks on the set.
Mm-hmm.
Something that was really intrigued me, that big chase scene between Banshee and is it Angel? Can't remember her name. The woman with the
Zoe Kravitz's character.
Yeah, okay. Those people were suspended from helicopters, and that chase was real. That is not a CGI job there where they're flying across the water. That's real, folks. And
That's awesome.
there's something authentic about this, because when I watched it on screen, I'm like, CGI could not have recaptured this. It just couldn't have. And, just watch. And, of course, one of my favorite moments, Gunnery Sergeant Jim Deaver, a great serviceman in the Marine Corps, was one of our people that was actually, helping facilitate and teaching us, Navy actors how to be, Navy in the 1960s, which, by the way, I love the parallel with the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, hey, what is official Marine policy when you see X-Men flying over your head? He's like, well, first thing you do is you say, he's from Jersey. You look up and you say, what the fuck is that? And then the second thing you do is you shoot the shit out of it till it dies.
Well,
and I'm like,
there you go.
this is brilliant.
Nice.
This is brilliant. But yeah, this is a outstanding production. Matthew Vaughn, I believe, was the director, correct?
Yes, he was.
Yes.
Matthew Vaughn, a little underrated for his time that he was doing films.
Yeah, he was just coming off Layer Cake, right? Like, your Layer Cake was right before that, I think?
Now, he was Kick-Ass director, correct?
Yeah, I think he did Kick-Ass, too.
Okay, so I'm not in love with that movie, but I love his vision to try to make it
Kingsman,
happen.
right?
That's right.
He did Kingsman, too.
Yes,
Yeah.
and to try, I love his like
Solid.
trying to-
Solid actor that just kind of found a niche and ran with it for a bit. It's done a beautiful job.
yeah,
Beautiful job.
I like him a lot.
Next one, our final choice, the top number one X-Men film of all time.
It's pretty obvious if you haven't figured it out yet. X2, X-Men United.
Boom, motherfucker! Burr, burr, burr.
Because look, let's be real. We saw the X-Men movie. We liked it. I don't know if it blew our socks off.
Colossus.
We did not see X2 coming. Let's just be real. Did any of you really think X2 was going to blow you away?
Well, first...
Alan Cummings open scene
Oh, that was excellent.
as Nightcrawler.
Yes.
Also, a great villain who didn't have powers. A great villain is the original Hannibal Lecter, Brian Cox, playing William Stryker.
And if anybody wants to see Brian Cox really cut his teeth in an acting role, there's so many movies that you can choose.
Super Troopers.
Yeah, Super Troopers is one of them, actually.
Manhunter.
I would go with The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Long Kiss Goodnight.
Outstanding film.
Yeah, which is a really underrated film.
And-
and a perfect Christmas
And
film.
he was in one of the Bourne movies.
He was. A couple, one or two. Yeah, at least.
So, yeah, X2 X-Men United is outstanding. Now, naturally, if you pick it apart, you can find something you don't like. I get it. It started to me to develop a little bit of this kind of Star Trek vibe where I'm like, wow, does anybody get killed in these movies? Like, I was getting confused after a while with that. But, of course, my favorite ridiculous scene, because it is ridiculous to like this scene, is William Stryker's kid just staring at Patrick Stewart. It was weird. It was way off. I didn't understand any of that. I thought it was goofy, but effective. Obviously, the Nightcrawler was great. Just that whole
Right.
CG sequence.
And this is the first time we got to see Berserker Wolverine. We got to see Hugh Jackman lose his friggin' shit.
Yeah.
And just go off and kill a bunch of people
Yes.
that are like attacking his family, so to speak.
Yeah.
Nuts. So cool. one of the best action sequences in all the X-Men films. Berserker Wolverine. One of the best action sequences in all of the films. The Nightcrawler opening. Just hands down, 2 of the best action sequences in any of the X-Men franchises we had in one
And
film.
a woman who could really kick ass, Kelly Hu.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very true.
Lady Deathstrike.
Yes. And so cool to find out that whole part of Wolverine's history and show that. And then that kind of led right into the Phoenix thing.
That's true.
Right,
Yes.
right at the end.
Also, like the one thing I like about Stryker's character, he had an interesting relationship with Magneto and Xavier.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with Xavier. Now, Xavier was trying to help his son. He couldn't, and that's one thing that pissed him off and sent him down that path. So William Stryker, to me, is probably literally the most human villain of the series.
And he was very feared by the mutants.
Yes.
Which is unusual. Like,
Yep.
the man carried a lot of power, kind
Yep.
of almost like Governor Tarkin, if I'm not mistaken, from the original Star Wars.
Yes. And by the way, we see Stryker a little bit in First Class as well, played by a different actor, but we get a taste of him in First Class as well.
Dude, I don't think Stryker was so interesting in the books, but my gosh, X2, he kind of jumped off the screen at me. And that last scene out in that facility.
Oh, I guess Magneto
what
especially.
a great set.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Great artistry.
Excellent production design.
Lots of compliments go to that movie. It was really enjoyable. And you started to see Halle Berry. That was before she started getting $20 million a movie, and she was on the verge of her breakout.
Oh, still my favorite line from her is, you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? And then it's like, same thing that happens to everything else. And she like explodes Toad or just knocks him the fuck out. That was from the first X-Men, granted, but it just set the bar for Halle Berry.
And of course, you can't get enough of Rebecca Romaine.
But also,
yeah.
too, you know, when what's his name, Sebastian Shaw absorbs all that power from Darwin and gives it back to him, he's like, absorb this.
Yeah, that was really cool. And he just like kind of just exploded too.
Slowly exploded.
Yeah, it was really
But
cool.
Toad was
So,
electrocuted.
hands down, let's just say this. Like them or love them, or even dislike them, which I find hard to believe, the X-Men franchise brought to life the Marvel Universe.
Yes.
And if it wasn't for this series, we wouldn't have the MCU that we have now. So I think that we owe them a good bit of credit. We owe the writers, the directors, the producers, the actors, all the talent. The editors, the gaffer, the best boy. I don't care. We owe everybody credit for bringing these characters to life and showing us that comic books can make money, they can be viable, and they are something that we need in our life.
Well, yeah, and I also want to be clear on something. We are not haters.
No.
When we have issues with things, it's because we expect more out of them. Because the X-Men series is truly a great series. We could sit here and bitch and cry till our entire lifetime, pretty much, about how confusing confusing the storylines get later on.
And the toxic fanboys need to take a back seat. That's all,
No,
You're one of them.
And you got to realize, like,
Kiss my ass.
the
I didn't like
expectations.
Captain Marvel. Suck it.
The expectations, though, that X-Men has, and they're completely fair, because you are talking about trend-setting, kind of characters here. I mean, I don't think they've quite gotten to the pop culture lexicon necessarily of like a Joker or a Spider-Man, but they're so darn close in many ways, especially Wolverine. I mean, how could you not think of Wolverine, where it's on the tip of everybody's tongue? These are big timers. These aren't secondary characters. These are characters that built an entire Marvel catalog, okay? And the fact that they have to juggle all of them, and we just want the best out of them. Let's be real. Disney now owns the rights, and Disney will recreate it because it has to.
Right. Yeah, it needs the money, I guess.
And likely
Go figure.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness might be the means how they introduce the X-Men into the MCU. One possibility.
It's quite possible, or
Fantastic
Disney Plus
Four.
even, to be honest.
Disney Plus? Probably a combination of the two.
Because they're going to be integrated into the MCU, which is going to be an interesting aspect that we're going to see coming down the line soon.
Maybe we'll see Quicksilver in WandaVision.
And we went way over on this because we love the X-Men.
We did. This is a long podcast, so sorry, everyone, but I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for coming out. Please, please, please subscribe to us. Subscribe on
us.
iTunes, YouTube,
Spotify,
Spotify,
Google Play.
Darren's favorite, Sprecher.
Sprecher. I'm going to keep pushing Sprecher.
Yeah, Google Play Music. Also, there's a few others actually. If you look and dig, or if you have a podcast app and you don't think we're on there, let us know. Reach out to us.
Also, last but
we
not-
do have an email, and we have a Facebook page and an Instagram.
Also, last but not least, check out our replay of our broadcast from Spiro's Heroes. We did a live stream there. You'll enjoy it.
Yep, not long ago. It was a good one.
And please join us, as I'm pretty certain we are going to be doing future live streams, and we would love to hear from you while we're on our live stream.
Yes, absolutely. Get on the. We're going to be live streaming primarily from YouTube Live, where you can get on there and chat with us, ask us questions, and just make overall comments about what you thought about our past podcasts, or if you have questions with us about past podcasts. Good Lord, that took a bit. Or certain characters or something that you think, or comic books you think might go up in value, or what we think about it. Happy to answer.
And also, finally, for me at least, without your support, we don't exist. So thank you so much for tuning in to us.
Yes, thank you. And hopefully, if we don't hear from you on YouTube Live, maybe we'll see you
At the most righteous, kindly, sweet
Comic Shop.
This has been The Real Short Box. We'll see you at the comic shop. Thanks for listening.